let's come back to the present Aren Eggon.
Yes.
You are the Secretary General of Eggon Cultural Development
Development Association. Yes.
Exactly. Now, you just mentioned here 22 were gazetted and they were able to elect the former Aren Eggon, late Dr. Bala Baniambazu.
Yes.
So how many people or how many clans elected the present Aren Eggon?
We had a constitutional challenge. And that has been my own worry. I have raised that issue time without numbers, my brother.
Okay.
I have foreseen that thing coming up, and I kept on raising it. I remember in 2004, I wrote a memo, a 13-page memo to the then Council of Elders, alerting them on the need for them to have substantive village heads.
What happened to the previous ones?
They died.
Okay.
And there were no replacement.
No replacement?
Out of 22, 19 died. And there were no replacement. What they did was to maintain active village heads. An active village head, which they call it Wakili, which some of us has vehemently opposed it, that Wakili is a strange name in Eggon land, and it must never be promoted. There is nothing like Wakili. Wakili simply means representative.
And it
is not part of the chieftaincy. Now, 2, 3 were left. Aren Arugbadu, Aren Wakma, and Aren Wulko. So 3 of them were left alive. And under normal circumstances, the State House of Assembly made a law in 2017 that if there are existing kingmakers, even if it is one, that single one will be made to elect a chief. And that was what happened. The governor had made use of that gazette. And that was how he allowed 3 village heads to now elect or select the current Aren Eggon. And by the record, 2 voted for him, 1 voted for Dr. James and Basu. From the record of government, I don't have any other record to suggest otherwise. But that is the record that is available. And so it's a challenge on the present Aren Eggon to work assiduously to see that these substantive heads are put in place. Well, how long does it take a village? Unfortunately, even as we speak, the Wakma man is dead.
So we
have only just 2 now. Who knows even if what happens?
So if these 2, God forbid,
then dies, it will have been a constitutional crisis.
And then God forbid, our own royal father too passes.
Then we have the governor will just appoint.
No, that's wrong.
But there's nothing you can do in that condition. It means the governor will have to appoint.
So who appoints these village heads?
The people that there is no appointment.
Okay, who elects?
It is the selection, and it's done by Meangwas, who are the true custodian of this ward. They are the ward's heads. In each village, it is structured along wards. So each of these ward heads, which is called Mangwa in Hausa, is
in Eggon is called what now?
Ugu.
Okay. Let's use
Mandak Ugu.
Okay.
Each Ugu have Andak Ugu.
That's right.
So Mandak Ugu will not meet and then select the village head
that will
now represent them
in the palace of Aren.
In the palace of Aren Eggon.
Okay.
So it is important. It is very simple. If Aren Eggon today, maybe after doing the necessary thing, he will just apply to the governor through the Ministry of Justice and then local government chieftains affairs,
okay.
that he wants the local government to approve the selection. And once the local government of Nasir going to generate that letter, it goes, the governor will give it approval. Because no governor will want to see a people staying without
a leader.
No governor will like that. So I think the problem is from us. If this present chief wants these things to be done, it will be done without any waste of time.
Thank you very much for that
sir.
Explicit explanation. I will still want to continue.
Yes, sir.
On the issue of culture.
Yes.
And the promotion of the culture of the Eggon people. We have something in the palace of Aren Eggon. When it happened, the entire social media were agog. People were against it. It's never represented the culture of the Eggon people according to expressions of the Eggon people, as we have seen on social media. It is rather more or less a representation of the caliphate. It was explained because I have followed it, I've read through it, I've seen people's feelings. And if you are the Secretary General of Eggon Cultural and Development Association, what have you done about it?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, Honorable Justice Ahmed Obangari Alaku the First,
yes,
is a well-cultured Egoma. You will not know him until you get closer, and then you now realize that he's a true Egoma. So what happens of recent may not be a true representation of the man called Justice Ahmed Obangari. When that Arabic inscription, I think that is what we are referring to.
Yes, Arabic inscriptions, all the representation of figures
in the palace.
In the palace.
When that thing happened, I, as the Egda General Secretary, I went personally to His Royal Highness, one-on-one. I gave him my own honest and humble advice on what is to be done concerning that. Because, of course, that thing created a lot of tension. It almost wanted to split the good nation into two. But I think to some extent, tensions have not been dusted down. Egda is thinking of what best approach it can be adopted such that the issue can be resolved amicably. Again, the approach that was adopted in resolving that matter was untraditional. Yes, there was something that happened in the palace. You don't use the social media to address issues like that. There are procedures. We have Aren Eggon, who has the Eggon Traditional Council. Within the Traditional Council, we have the Elders Council, who advise the Traditional Council. And then when you come up here, the full soldiers of His Royal Highness, which is Egda, which is the umbrella body of Eggon Nation, the mouthpiece of Eggon Nation. So when issues like this came on board, it was proper that Eggon people met at a better forum. That was not done. So I think that is where probably we got it wrong. We made the matter a public discussion. And I beg to deviate from those who believe that such matters should be addressed publicly. It's a traditional matter.
It should be addressed,
in a traditional way. His Royal Highness is a human being. He will never be happy to see that the Eggon nation is divided along religious lines. He certainly will not be happy. I'm telling you, find time, get closer to the man. You will now know that he is a true Eggon person. He has never taken religion to be a major issue before him. Yes, people around him may project it that way, but if you get closer to him, so I'm sure by the time he now settles down and begin to see how he can reposition the Eggon nation, some of these issues will fade away. It will naturally fade away. So we shouldn't allow it. Of course, a lot of people are worrying politics of recent is because no, the Eggon nation must not be balkanized on religious divide. Eggon is one, our identity is one, we came from the same source, and we must not allow the politics of division or religion to divide us.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes.
Religion have tried its best to divide, and politics to divide the Eggon people over the years.
Yes.
But I've realized that Eggon people were actually indivisible.
Exactly.
Through those lines, they were actually indivisible.
Very well. Very
now,
well.
the point is, what were we able to achieve as EGDA national in respect to that thing? Now that it's like everybody is silent over the matter, and you talked about people, it's a public, it was a public discussion on social media. Probably that is the only means the people have to express their feelings. And for me as a journalist, I don't think it's wrong. They only mentioned what they feel about it. But those who are supposed to be proactive about it, like people like you,
Yes,
should be able to address the issue traditionally as it should be. What has EGDA been able to do? Now that everywhere is quiet, is it that because they are tired of talking about it and no action, so everybody have gone to sleep? Or EGDA have actually resolved the matter and there are major steps, that is ongoing to resolve this issue?
yes. Just like I told you, it is not for EGDA to publicly come up and say, this is what we are doing. But you can be rest assured. I just told you that I personally, as the General Secretary of EGDA, personally met His Royal Highness and gave him advice. That is an individual advice. EGDA as an institution, we are not resting. We are working hard to discuss, to interface with the Traditional Council. Right now, as we speak, EGDA is not being represented at the Traditional Council.
It's not.
It's not, as it is now. So we are trying to make a case. You see, when you are not ably represented at the Traditional Council, your input on traditional matters will not be felt. So we are making a serious case where the president of EGDA should be a member. Even if he doesn't have a voting right, he can be a nominal member. But then his contributions will be required.
Exactly.
Even if he cannot vote. Because for you to vote, you have to have a traditional title for you to vote. Yes, we agree that EGDA is not a traditional institution. But then EGDA can go there by representation. Why is it so? Any decision that is taken from the palace, who implements them is EGDA. So if you don't involve EGDA in your own decisions, how will you get it implemented? You can imagine if EGDA, yes, at the point in time when they started the discussion of the Arabic inscription, the EGDA president was involved, and so his involvement has really given us hope that by the grace of God, the issues will be resolved. I want to call on our youths to exercise restraint, not to castigate His Royal Highness. EGDA is working around the clock to see that this issue is properly resolved. We are also interfacing with the Council of Elders to see how the issues will be peacefully resolved.
By the grace of God, yes, to be peacefully resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more question.
Yes, sir.
Does EGDA in any way select Aren in any community?
Not at all. That is why I told you that EGDA is not a traditional institution. We don't even interfere
with anything that
on the selection process of
any tradition.
And I want to say it loud and clear. EGDA does not find people in terms of vote. Even if EGDA decide to find an area members that has to do with goat, that fine goes to the traditional council of that respective branch. At each branch, we have a patron, and the patron is always the traditional ruler of that clan. At the national level, His Royal Highness, the Aren Eggon, is the grand patron. So on no account do EGDA officials go ahead to begin to install traditional rulers or to influence the selection process. No. What EGDA does is to prepare an enabling environment for a smooth process of the election. Because whatsoever thing that happens at that level, the people, the feedback comes back to EGDA. If you have a good traditional ruler, EGDA will enjoy it. You have a bad traditional ruler, the EGDA will suffer. So because the traditional ruler does not go to defend the land, it is EGDA. And so that's what we are saying. We defend the land. We are the full soldiers. Why not carry us alone
in
your own traditional setting? Even though we are not going to have voting rights, let us be involved in the decision process, and then it will be easier for us to implement those decisions once they are taken.
Okay. So if there are cases that has to do with traditional council,
yes,
EGDA do not have right to interfere. They also do not have right to take up matters to even court or anywhere that has to do with traditional.
Let me stress that issue of land conflict, it is not EGDA that resolve it. Though EGDA may initiate the process, then hand it over to the traditional institution, because the traditional ruler is the custodian of the land.
Culture.
And of the land. The land belongs to the traditional ruler. Now, in terms of disputes among ourselves, is a law, is a constitutional matter. You don't carry your fellow Eggon person to a court of law. You must exhaust all methods of conflict resolution. Courts or arbitration is the last level. If all other means fail, then you cannot refer to, but that you have been free. If not, if you carry somebody to court and you are found to have not exhausted all alternative means of conflict resolution, you will be banned from contesting election or holding a position in EGDA for close to 10 years.
Wow.
That is the constitution. So that's to encourage us to find a way of resolving
issues
our
within
internal conflicts.
So, in other words, the association is answerable to the traditional.
Certainly. EGDA is never operating parallel to the traditional ruler. No chairman should go and be raising his shoulder vis-a-vis that of the traditional ruler. We don't do it. It's a separate organigram. But at the topmost echelon, let me give you a typical organogram.
Okay.
At the topmost echelon of Eggonland is His Royal Highness, the Aren Eggon. Then, drawn directly from him, you have the Madaki. Then, who is his deputy?
Yes.
From the Madaki, you now have a line. On this side, you have the traditional council.
Okay.
On this traditional council, you have Aren Eggon, you have all the Aren under them, down to the district head, down to the village head. Then you come down straight directly. You now have the EGDA, the EGDA president, the vice president, the general secretary, the EGDA branches under it. Then under the EGDA, you now have the women wing, you now have the youth wing. They derive authority directly from EGDA. They don't intervene. The women wing, the youth wing don't interfere directly with His Royal Highness. They go to the Royal Highness through EGDA.
Excellent.
Now, at the other side, you have the Eggon Council of Elders, who advise His Royal Highness directly. critical issues in Eggon land, the Council of Elders meet to discuss them. In that Council of Elders, the Egda president is a member.
Okay.
At the Council of Elders, the president is a member. So what we are struggling now is to see how we can get Egda being represented in at the traditional council.
Okay.
But at the Elders Council, Egda is being represented.
We sincerely appreciate your presence. What last word do you have to speak to the Eggon nation as the Egda General Secretary?
Well, if there's anything I want to say to Eggon people right now, first and foremost, unity. Unity of purpose, ideology of oneness. We have to work towards being one in purpose, one in language, one in our thinking. Let us work towards a collective project. If there's anything that is affecting Eggon as a nation today, our inability to come up with a collective project. This collective project does not respect religion, does not respect party structures, because it is one. Until we adopt that ideology of oneness, we can't achieve what we want. Remember, we are in the midst of other ethnic groups. And so until we come together, we can't have a force. We can't have a front to get what we want. And that is why year in, year out, we keep on struggling politically. We don't get it because we have not been able to come together as a united force. So I want to call on the Eggon people, let us remain united. I call on the Eggon youth. There are certain practices that are happening in Eggon land today that is so strange. You see, Eggon youth now going to beg people like the Hausa people. That has never been our culture. We don't believe in going running after politicians, banning. No, we don't do it. It's not our culture. I'm calling Eggon youth to desist from that. We are not idle people. We are hardworking. We are dedicated. We are sincere. We are honest. You give anything to an Eggon man in an office, he doesn't pick it because that's not his own. So we want to encourage our youth never to deviate from these norms. Hard work. We worked together in the past. We never had rich and poor different because they had what is called ekpa. The weak farmer had his own land cultivated because the strong people come together with the weak ones and then they assist through communal farm work. Even Marche, you know, the women were doing I don't have food, you cook. You give, you share to me because you are able to give to me even if I don't cook, my children eat. Asuku, you see them going to plaster their individual houses together. And fetching water together to build houses. You know, those good days are gone. But some of us are still believing that we can still revive it. Culture is revivable.
That's right.
We can revive it. China got it right until Chairman Mao brought about cultural revolution. Until you revolutionize the culture of the people. You can't get it.
That's right.
Russia was an underdog during the First World War. But in 1917 to 1921, Vladimir Lenin came and changed Russia. And today, Russia is a world superpower. Maybe probably second only to the United States of America. And so, it all has to do with what? Cultural revolution. So I'm advocating for a total cultural revolution of Eggon people.
So we believe that your office,
yes,
and the office of the president,
yes,
will put themselves together,
yes,
and ensure that we have this cultural.
By the grace of God.
Thank you very much,
I'm grateful,
Chris Alu,
for
having you in this interview.
Thank
you have
you
really
much.
thrown more light on the things that borders the Eggon nations.
Thank you.
We are glad to have you. We look forward to having you more of you in some other interviews.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I wish Baba will bring down those evidence.
Oh yeah.
So that we can study it.
Certainly, we are not through with Baba yet. We will continue with interview with Baba.
Thank you.
And Baba is going to give us more evidence and facts.
Okay.
Thank you.
So God bless you.